45. Brim full of pica on the 45, while it's a brim full of pica on the 45. Everybody wants a pica for a pillow. Everybody wants a pica. Everybody wants a pica for a pillow. Everybody wants my pica. Everybody wants a pica for a pillow. Everybody wants a pica. Mine's on the 45. Brim full of pica on the 45, while it's a brim full of pica on the 45. Brim full of pica on the 45, while it's a brim full of pica on the 45. Everybody wants my pica for a pillow. Everybody wants my pica. Everybody wants my pica for a pillow. Everybody wants my pica. Everybody wants my pica for a pillow. Everybody wants my pica. Mine's on the 45. What? Read the show notes. Okay. Fuck you, man. Fuck you very much. What? Well, you looking from her? Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're getting right on that. Yes, ma'am. Welcome back. It's the Sully Sunday stream. How are you? Let's see what is brewing today. Well, it's actually nothing to do with the Bruins. They have their season opener next month. Today is the first day of the New England Patriots football season, and I can't stand the uniforms. Seriously, they got solid shirts and solid pants. You know what I mean? Like blue on blue. They call it the color rush uniforms. Listen, our opponents, the Cincinnati Bengals, are wearing their versions right now. They've got orange tops with orange pants. And they look, it's just the chick from marketing's decision. She's doing this to belittle men's spaces. Seriously, they look like high school football players out there. I swear, it's Sully on the cell phone. It's Sully from Selfie on the cell phone. And he's calling sports radio from his car. And he's trapped in traffic there on the Tobin Bridge there. You know, I just wanted to go to Riley's roast beef up there. You know what I mean? Riley's roast beef. The roast beef sandwich, indigenous to my part of America. They call it the three-way. It's got mayo, barbecue sauce, and cheese on an onion roll with thinly sliced, like medium rare roast beef, which is not hot, but it's warm. You know what I mean? So it's not really, it's a hot, it's more than lukewarm. It's roast beef. It's a roast beef sandwich. And sure, it gets cold and you'll still eat it. But, hello, Morning Haze. Good to see you. Welcome. We're going to come in off the horizon and then we're going to put on the music. Music? Yeah, Wagner. Scares the hell out of the, beeps, and my boys love it. This racially charged language. I am not saying that kind of stuff in front of you. Never, ever. Not like your other producers, but you and Perry, go way back too. Ladies and gentlemen, my production team, my executive producer, a Pikachu, his boss assistant, the X-Ray Girl plushie. In the control booth back there, we have our Cecilized Canadian Bear and the Drinka, who run the operation, the camera, the boom, the lights. I'm just the talent. I read what they write. And we offer you, ahoy, Dr. Nitrogen's Music of Empire. Ahoy there, Abbas matey. Permission to come aboard, Captain. Permission granted. It's Star Trek Day. Today, in 1966, premiered Star Trek, the original series, The Man Trap. And so we have an extra special Star Trek themed episode today. Also starring What's in the Bag. What is in the bag? We have new comic books purchased from my local comic book shop just this very week. Still has new funny book smell all over them. Indeed. And how are you doing? Good to see you out there. We offer you a neutral, positive patriotism. That's right. Free of the ideologies of either side of the aisle. You know, you'd have to be a fool to follow them, or who's the fool? The fool or the fool who follows? Ha ha! That's Star Wars for Star Wars Day. It's a Star Trek kind of day. where it's more of like IDIC, LLAP, and id plebnista. And I'm all about that. Id plebnista. Id plebnista. We the people. This matters for the Kangs, the Khans, and the Yangs. Or it doesn't matter at all. Maybe I'll pull up the thing and I'll give you my best Shatner. Welcome. Thank you so much. It's time for the Sully Sunday stream, and where we get down with some spirituality, some pop culture, comic books, and sci-fi. And thank you so much for everyone that's tuning in. Especially if you're catching it on the replay, don't worry. You too can still be part of the conversation. Leave a comment in the comment section. Continue this comic book shop style conversation. Booyah, Tay. It's the Sunday live stream, and we guaranteed you can trust this. A Sully you can trust. Finally, a Sully you can trust. You know, we offer you, the production team, and me, the talent here, from our Boston studios, which is down the street from the corner and across the street from a Dunkin' Donuts. Right there on the corner. You see that? Right. Zero Soviet funding. Zero, you know what I mean, pimping of the CCP and the PRC, and you know what I mean with, like, you know, with my ABCs, with my 1, 2, 3s. That's right. A Sully, finally a Sully that you can trust, with a non-delusional, very social patriotism and a nationalism too. Everybody wants to be an American. It's true. It's right. People still kill and die to come here. You know what I mean? Seriously. It's true. This is the American dream. The American Revolution never stopped. It keeps going in cycles, and it keeps revolving. The revolution. That's right. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night and the fight from above. That's right. I am just one patriotic motherfucker. That is right. I've always loved to have worn the Stars and Stripes as part of my, it's part of my ensembles, in this half century on this planet. Seriously. It's just, I love this country, and I think we got the coolest flag. We have the coolest national anthem. Sorry, France. You know what I mean? I've seen Casablanca, but you know what I mean? We got you beat. Thanks for the help in the Revolutionary War, nonetheless. How y'all doing today? That's right. Zero Soviet funding, zero Chinese funding. It's a neutral space where you can be an American. Heck, you could be from Saudi Arabia, like our friend Mo who tunes in from the other side of the world. That's right. We got people in New Zealand that watch us. We got people in Australia that's watching us. We got definitely people in China watching us because, they're watching everybody. You heard it here. That's right. I'm not making things up. I am making things up that I wrote down and blame it on my stuffed animals. That's right. I'm just the talent. And how are you doing? It is Star Wars Day. Let's get to it. I want to see some Star Wars. Star Trek Day, asshole. It's unfiltered, unscripted, unrehearsed. Very little goes into, vetting anything I say. I'm just a high school graduate. It's one of my favorite mugs, Chicago. I got this at a Starbucks. I like Starbucks mugs from cities I go to. It's a nice souvenir. I saw Hamilton in Chicago. Hamilton had a Chicago cast. It was brilliant. 2017. We were 20 rows up on the floor. Oh gosh, it was worth every cent. Good show. I'd like to go see Cats, but I'm staying out of Manhattan for the rest of my life. I've had enough of Manhattan. That's like a dangerous place. Manhattan's a great example of why we should all be Americans and have American solutions with American interests by Americans. You know what I mean? I can see this, like, embracing the whole globalization thing only goes so far. It's kind of like, if you're a flawed person and you're a hateful person or something, and you go into a relationship, you're just going to share that shitty person with everyone. Why don't you go work on yourself for a little while? I've benefited from that. So I'm the best Sully that I could ever be to be with somebody else, to be or not to be, happily ever after, that kind of thing. Seriously, finally a Sully you can trust. I'm going to sell. That's going to be my selling point. You know what I mean? When advertising myself, especially on my online dating page. Let's see. What do we have? We have a window pulled up, don't we? Don't we? Can we have more, please? Oh, you want more? Father, please, we want more. We have it's a happy Star Trek day. I actually made a little video. Yeah, I made a little video I want to share with you for Star Trek Day here, man, and women, and anyone in between. That, I didn't think that was, I thought it wasn't a short. Well, it is a short. It is a short. Well, let's go look at this short then. Share this tab instead. Hold on there. Hold up. There it is. All my brothers in the back in the building. Bismarck. There it is. To get ready for the next episode. Hey. Smoke weed every day. Oh, speaking of, it's time for another gummy. I don't smoke anymore. I am into these gummies. Eat Plebnista. IDIC. LLAP. IDIC. In infinite diversity is infinite combinations. It's a Vulcan principle, and it's one of the highest honors you can get. Let's look at this one more time. I should promote this short. These are Eagle Moss. I've got 13 Eagle Moss, I believe, 12 or 13 Eagle Moss I got all the enterprises that matter. I actually just got the Star Trek license has gone over to Fan Home. I think that's it. I've been getting emails that they're ready to start producing their next wave of these, this scale size. This was called Eagle Moss, which went over to the Eagle Moss went under. And Eagle Moss, and that's my Eagle Moss Terrac Nor. That's or my Deep Space Nine, rather. And this is my physical collection of the 735 plus season 3 of Picard. And I got no problems showing love for season 3 of Picard. I think it's a really good show. I think it's cheesy as all fuck. I mean, it has its limitations. It's it has its limitations. It has its cheesiness. It's literally a network show, a 21st century network show. It's never looked more like TV's Lost on ABC. It looks a lot like that, and especially with the arc stories. It was 8 or 10 episodes. But it was just one story. So it's basically like a 10-hour long movie. It was heavily based upon the Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and had nothing but member berries, nice, juicy, dripping, sweet member berries. And I had no problems with it. It didn't take itself too seriously. And I think it was just set controls, set course for fun, straight on, engage. That's the Enterprise. The Enterprise A refit. We got the Voyager. We've got the Enterprise, the Galaxy class Enterprise D. You got the Ambassador class Enterprise C. You got the it's an Ambassador class. No, it's Galaxy class. God, what class was the E? I should know this. The Grissom, which is the Oberth class. You get the Stargazer. You got the Defiant, but it's the ISS Defiant from the Mirror universe that I got. So yeah, the license went over to Fan Home, and I'm going to be getting the Titan A for this collection, because the Titan A, spoilers, ends up being the Enterprise G by the end of it. And I believe I would prefer to get the Enterprise G myself the 1701G USS Enterprise, to go with these Enterprises. Yeah, I'm not getting the Enterprise F, which comes from online. And I'm not getting the Enterprise J, which comes from Star Trek Discovery from 1,000 years in the future. But I am totally going to get the Titan A. I would love I'm going to kick myself in the ass if they re-release it as the Enterprise G. Let's put it that way. And yeah, and this is my physical media. I'm part of the 735 Club that was invented by Michael Alonzo, Clobberin Times, RIP, and his first officer, R.M. Briggs. And he had a cast and a crew of his ship and his Saturday night Star Trek show. And it was a foundation. They went through every episode of original Trek, Next Generation. They were doing Voyager. No, they did Next Generation. They did Deep Space Nine. Did they do Deep Space? Yeah, they did. And they were in Voyager, and they only had Enterprise to go, and I believe the movies, and then it stops. It gives Star Trek lore, real Star Trek stops. Roddenberry Star Trek. I should maybe phrase it like as I do with Star Wars, that I phrase it as Lucas Star Wars versus Disney Star Wars, and that's a good way to differentiate the two. And because there is a dividing line, they are separate universes. And the bad reboot starts in 2009. So Star Trek goes from 1966 to 2005, and when Star Trek Enterprise has its final mission, its final episode, great episode, by the way, in my humble opinion. That's me and William Shatner himself last year at Fan Expo Boston 2003. That's my IDIC medal, IDIC. That is IDIC. In infinite diversity is infinite combinations. Yeah. And if you see it, can you see the design of the Starship Discovery in this design? This classic Trek thing? I see Discovery in there. Yeah, I can see its primary hull. I see that internal, I see you see it? I see it. IDIC. That was my, I believe in that. I'm a Spock. I was heavily influenced by Star Trek. I knew Star Trek before Star Wars. So I knew Star Trek, then I knew Space 1999. That premiered in 1975 when I was 2 years old. And you had episodes on WLVI TV 56 on the UHF frequency in Boston on the dial of your local television stations. And they were on weekends, usually on Saturdays after the afternoon creature features. And you could always I loved both Star Trek and Space 1999. Star Trek by 1976 or so, by 1976, 1977, May 1977, May 25th, 1977, the Star Wars. I'm 4 years old. I will be 5 in November of 1977. I'll be, so there's a big chunk of that, so these were the shows of my formative years. And by 1978, we have Battlestar Galactica. By 1979, we have Buck Rogers in the 25th Century on television. By 1980, Empire Strikes Back. And then all the stuff that came in between that, too. So it's just like the 70s had this really wonderful axial age of motion picture, live action science fiction. I think cinema and television are steeped with sci-fi, especially in that, age of the 60s, where you had Star Trek come out for 3 seasons, and you have to give Lots of credit to Lucille Ball, comedian, star of I Love Lucy, and co-owner of the Desilu Production Studios. And Star Trek was passed on every production company and every network. And Gene Roddenberry, was down to his last chance. And Lucille Ball, a woman in entertainment, not just the talent, heavy duty mover and shaker behind the scenes and in productions too. You know what I mean? Lucille Ball has been, she was in old Three Stooges movies, and those came from the 1940s. So by the 60s, she's in her mid 40s, and she's, she had her own, she was Lucy Ball. I Love Lucy. Are you kidding me? So that's, I think the true power of feminism was right there. Taking a chance on this TV show that wasn't afraid to, have interesting social allegories. It wasn't, some things were on the nose and some things not so much. Everything's were in the details. If you look at something such as Space Seed, the one with Khan, Noonien Singh, and where and when he came from and the circumstances of that Earth's past, and what led to it was genetic engineering, and what came from that was a sense of privilege and racial purity. Oh my goodness! Hello! Snortapoopus! Cuber. Hey, man. Or, I don't want to misgender the bear. Hello. Good to see you. And yeah, I think Snortapoopus is, his race of polar bear might have been introduced to this Earth through the USS Enterprise, and like their dealings with the Guardian of Forever. I guess they're an advanced civilization, very intelligent. That's why they keep to themselves. Yeah, and have great camouflage and good taste in fine, refined palates. So yeah, I mean, these are my Eagle Moss. That is my physical collection. My 735 plus Picard season 3, which I'm not like I said, I'm not ashamed of that one bit. The 735 means there's 735 hours complete of 1966 through 2005 material, counting all the television shows, the animated series, and the movies. If you added all of their viewing times up together, you would come up to 735 hours. What a wonderful way to spend some time. I grew up, like I said, when I grew up also with the Star Trek, the animated series was in heavy reruns as well. It was only on in the weekends, and Star Trek was on what seemed like every night sometimes, but it was just that much. It was in endless reruns. It had a huge second life, and even so much so that the first movie, Star Trek, the motion picture, came out in 1979. But that thing was in production for a few years before that. There was something called Star Trek Phase 2, which was supposed to have been a new television show that had, a version of the refit Enterprise, a new Vulcan science officer who ended up being in Star Trek, the motion picture, who ended up dying horribly in a transporter accident in the opening of that great movie. And but yeah, I mean, so not only Star Trek, but Star Trek the animated series, which has its unique theme music, and they're shorter episodes. They're 22 minutes instead of 44, and yet they have the entire voice cast, with the exception of Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov. But he did direct one episode of that. Hey, Dwayne Muth, good to see you, buddy. How are you? Happy Sunday. Indeed. I didn't bring any snacks, and I didn't have supper yet, but I'll worry about that when I worry about that. When I get hungry like the bear. Hungry like the bear. Hungry like the bear. Oh, no, I know it's hungry like the wolf, but we have a distinguished bear in our presence, so you're going to honor them by singing to their praises. That's right. It's Star Trek Day. On this date in 1966, September 8th, premiered the first episode, The Man Trap. And see that Star Trek 50 right there? Oh, no, you can't because I didn't have it on. Is there a rewind on this thing? Oh, it's because I need to shrink it. Yeah. Those are eagle moths. Yeah. And an eagle moth went under. Yeah. It's an ambassador class, right? That Star Trek 50 there, that's a boxed set of all 3 seasons of Star Trek, the original series, the 1 season of Star Trek, the animated series, and all the original series movies. 1 through 6. No Generations. I got Generations here. And this pack, this is a movie pack. The Next Generation movie collection. I got Generations, First Contact, Insurrection. We don't say that word anymore on YouTube's. You can get into troubles. And Star Trek Nemesis. And then there's Star Trek Evolutions, which is a documentary feature. Got all 4 episodes, all 4 seasons of Enterprise, and Picard, the final season, Picard season 3.
LLAPIDIC.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Sue me. It was made for us to like. You know what I mean? They're supposed to be likable. A lot of it has been unlikable and on purpose because, I mean, that's a reflection of their creators. I mean, there's an unlikability to progressivism, activism, and feminism. Seriously. I mean, I get it. I can respect it, though. I mean, it's like you don't have to be liked to be respected. And and if a man, your typical cis-normative, typical, male patriarchy thing were to do that, he would be assertive and brave and not taking shit or prisoners. So it's more of like, I get it. But there's a certain hospitality involved when you're producing something. You know what I mean? I know this as a chef. You want guests. You want people to come in and enjoy their time with you and enjoy their experience. Disney used to lead the league in hospitality. They were the gold standard in hospitality up until recently. They've really ashes all fall down. Ashes all fall down. That's right. What happened to Disney? We all know what happened to Disney, and it doesn't start with a W and ends with being broke. And oh my goodness, AL, how's it going? Pikachu's excited to see you, of course. And hope everything's going well for you, AL. And God bless you guys. Ashes hit different. I know, I hear you. Same in my home too. Oh boy.
Eat Plebnista.
All I have are bad puns. Like I hit the mother load of ashes. Oh, that's because it's like, I mean, because we just, because we have to, that's all. We have to, like, divvy up my mom's ashes at, and that's where that pun came from. My mom hated my sense of humor. Well, that's good. You couldn't see what I was doing. It's the bottom of the 7th, and Chicago White Sox are 32-111. They've lost 111 games. Wow. And we're barely a 500 team at 72-70. Let's see. And the Patriots are winning 16-7. That's great. I still don't like the uniforms we've been wearing. Blue tops with blue pants. They look like a high school football squad. I've been Trek original series since 1970 reruns, and by 1974 reruns of Plenty Canadian Station Monday through Friday at 4 o'clock. That's right. We had Star Trek in endless reruns Seriously, I've seen the original series and the animated series more times, and then we get Space 1999, and I'm like a little kid. I'm between 2 and 3 years old, getting to be 4 years old for Space 1999. So much so that I had the stun gun, squirt gun, and I had the giant Eagle transporter that came with 3 action figures and a real working winch. And you could take the modules off the back and the end and make a little scout ship. And it was this legendary toy. And it was just magnificently large and durable, and just I had that was like it was one of my first big toys. That and a Shogun warrior named Great Mazinga. He was almost as tall as me. But yeah, I mean, it's Star Trek Day. I'm just like getting some Star Trek love. You know what I mean? I'm feeling Pon Farr. That's right. Yeah, it's been longer than that, kid. Dude, yeah, I'm turning Vulcan. And I don't think Vulcans are like any kind of I don't think Vulcans are any kind of substitute for or inserts. We would call them inserts now. Like the over reliance upon representation of real life, that it's like you have to start making shit up about the shit that we're making up. It's we have so much intersectionality in the modern audience, the myth of the modern audience. I still don't see blue collar people picking up on this stuff, enjoying it, or wanting to spend their time there. This is definitely some kind of privileged academic point of view and paradigm that's trying to be foisted on us, I don't see the Vulcans as being representative of, say, like Asian folk. I know there's room for that in the conversation, but like they're not meant to be like are the Klingons meant to be the Irish? I can accept that. Hey, that's an attitude I can totally get that. Kapla! I could do that. Yo, Lane Kramer. How you doing there, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome to the United. I mean, it's just an old story told from the 1960s. Everything's written in English because it was made for a Western English, an American audience, which ended up being a Canadian and a British audience, but also this went international too. I mean, didn't it in Japan, wasn't it advertised as Mr. Sulu, master of star piloting? Something like that. I think it was. Oh, sorry to hear about that, man. Well, it's good to see that you were on vacation. I mean, but please don't kiss hookers on the mouth. That's how you get sick. Don't do it. Live and learn. I've never kissed a hooker on the mouth. Don't, please. Let's not. Hey, look, something shiny. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I'm very happy about Star Trek being a huge part of my life. It helped format my hard drive. I am a Spock. I know Spock. Spock was an only child for up until like 1989. So for 23 years, Spock was an only child. Then we get hit with something that we have the vocabulary to identify as a retcon. In 1989, in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, the movie, we're introduced to Sybok, who is Spock's older brother from Sarek's first failed marriage to another Vulcan. So he, Sybok is full-blooded Vulcan, yet he's a revolutionary, and he subverts the expectation of being a Vulcan. He's just as smart, just as logical, but he embraces emotion. And then you have he's like the anti-Spock, because Spock is always struggling with his human half. Remember, his mother, it was human, and Amanda, and he always struggled with his human nature. Actually, that's a big part, I think, for us. A lot of us old Trekkies the problem with modern Spock. I mean, like Zachary Quinto's portrayal of Spock was okay, and in the direction he was given, that I think that's where I think since it was a new universe and a new approach at Spock, that Zachary Quinto's Spock, he's trying to embrace his humanity and be okay with that, and also especially because he's like a Freudian thing, in love with his mother. That's why he chose Uhura to be his girlfriend. You know what I mean? Who knows? Because this fucking bad reboot stuff. I gave that movie the biggest chance. Seriously, I had that. I still have that. It's on my iPod. It's on my iPod, and I had got the digital copy of that with my DVD copy a long time ago, and I watched the hell out of it. And this was before Into Darkness came out, and way before Star Trek Beyond, which I thought was terrible. So we don't have to flap our gums over bad mouthing bad reboot or even Secret Outhouse. Those just stand on their own as just we're at the point where it's like that's the division in fandom. Hey, I am still 1 second. Star Trek on P+. Star Trek on P+. Share this tab instead. Look at this. I'm blocked still. How am I supposed to want to enjoy your wonderful offerings of content? And how I am not a real Star Trek fan. Look at me. Look at all of this stuff. Isn't it neat? Don't you think my collection's complete? Don't you think I'm the Trekkie who has everything? I've got tribbles and phases of what's it's. I've got Klingons and Romulans. Lore.
IDIC.
Who wants Andorians? I've got 20. Seriously. How is this welcoming? How am I don't want to spend my money on anything Paramount because of this. Sorry. I mean, not sorry. Seriously. I said 2 things on Twitter about them. And this was way back in the Star Trek on CBS All Access days. So this carried over when they got the new, Paramount Plus name. So I said that Red Letter Media was right about their Picard Season 1 review, and that it literally was torture porn, like Eli Roth's Hostel movies, because it really is. I mean, I've heard reviews about this too. Other fair-minded stuff like, yeah, Season 1 of Picard was very vicious and very, grotesque. And there were in Season 2 even worse. It's showing a lot of self-deletions, and there's a lot of self-harm. You know what I mean? And just the first 2 seasons of Picard were really gruesome, graphic, black pillish, and I stand by that too. I mean, it was like, and that was just talking about Season 1. So and just like it was a lot. And that's what got me blocked. But and like I have this lifelong love with Star Trek. And I do, yeah. I like it's a good way. I like Trek and Star Wars equally, but these days, a cash grab bullshit. That's right. I agree. And so yeah, I like Anna, that Star Wars girl, and people are like, "Oh, why do you talk about Star Trek all the time?" Then because I love both. Stupid. Yeah, I love both. Stupid. I do. I really do. I love Star Trek, and it's like I said, it's because Spock. I identified with Spock as a Spock. You know what I mean? I was an only child that had emotional issues, that struggled internally, and that got bullied. And that, just how do we know that Spock got bullied? Because it's Star Trek, the animated series. Spock goes back in time and runs into his younger self. And there's young Spock who is literally getting bullied by a couple of older kids who are full Vulcan that treat him like a quote unquote half breed with emotional outbursts. And there's a lot, but yeah, I mean, but I don't buy into the whole intersectionality that Vulcans are supposed to represent a certain human race, and there is no human. There is no race. There's only there's only one human race. What we know as racism is actually some kind of just it's about culturalism and about bias. And there's only scientifically there's only one human race. Then there are local variations depending on geography, you know, and that's where we come. That's where we all come from. I mean, seriously. So what we know as racism is actually it's just some kind of like it is bias and it is prejudice and it is like not healthy. And it is, you know, but I mean, just like, yeah, that's me as Spock too. I mean, like fascinating. And it appears to be, or just like, and you know, it appears to be is one of the most, it's a huge thing in my life. It's something that Spock says, Captain, appears to be, you know, because it's like, I don't know for sure because I'm the science officer and I need direct evidence to support, you know what I mean? I love that. It's just like I am Spock. I really am. And I'm just like so very happy to have had this as a huge part of my growing up.
LLAPIDIC.
And my formative years. Yeah. But yeah, I was a Spock. Yeah. I remember reading Star Trek books, and one was Spock being bullied. I read those books. I grew up reading Star Trek books, starting off early too. I mean, there were the pocket books with the kangaroo on there were paperbacks, and well, if you bought a copy like I did at a certain dollar store on East Broadway there, or it was on West Broadway, to be honest, across the street from the South Boston Savings Bank. It was called Sands, and they had a dollar bin. I think it's a 50-cent bin where you can get paperbacks, and if they had the cover ripped off, because they were supposed to have been, the cover went, those get marked as unsold. This is the same thing with comic books. All right, and the marketplace of the newsstand. So these would be the paperbacks that did not sell on the newsstand that got credit, so that you rip off the cover. And that's what you send back to the distributor to get your credit. That's why the same thing with comic books. You know, you can either send them back to be destroyed, to be put into pulp to make new paper, or you know what I mean. You rip off the cover or a part of the cover, and you surrender that as a receipt. That you know what I mean. You took these off the newsstand and you destroyed them. Well, let me introduce you to humanity and dishonest people, you know what I mean? And just like trying to make a buck off things. So there was this huge box of contemporary novels, movie adaptations. Movie adaptations were great too, because they usually had, photographs in the center of it as well. And, that was always fun for me. I was a big reader as a kid. I could read really darn early.
LLAP.
So, but yeah, 25, 50 cents, you know what I mean? You can get one of these paperback novels. And a lot of the books that we got from that were Star Trek books, the pocket books. The number one by Vonda McIntyre. Was it Vonda? Let me look this up. It's The Entropy Effect. By Vonda and McIntyre. That is quite literally pocketbook number one. Now there were books before that, yeah. Like there were some Star Trek books that came from before this too, that were just like. But then came these new Star Trek books, starting off with number one. And I wonder if there's because I love to read from, you guessed it, the wiki. That's look at Sulu. Oh, you got to share the screen, asshole. Look at Sulu. That's like, you know what I mean? He was coming off vacation or something. So, and look, this is, when was this? This was published in June of 1981. When did Star Trek II Wrath of Khan? Comes out in 82. So I had action figures too of that came from Star Trek, the motion picture. So this was the novel includes the first occurrence of given names to the characters Hikaru Sulu and Nyota Uhura, each of which were later made canon. That's interesting, huh? Because there was no continuity. there was no connectiveness for any of these books until like a little later on. Then sometimes they became they became interconnected through arcs. Like you had the Dreadnought arc, you had Yesterday's Enterprise, Yesterday's Sun and Time for Yesterday. You had the William Shatner Nemesis book and the Return of Kirk. William Shatner is actually a really accomplished sci-fi writer. His tech books were pretty darn good, in this humble opinion. The Entropy Effect is a science fiction novel by American writer Vonda N. McIntyre set in the fictional Star Trek universe, developed from a screenplay that McIntyre had conceived when she was 18. It was originally published in 1981 and is the first original story in Pocketbook's long-running series of Star Trek novels. This novel includes the first occurrence of, and just recently, this universe of the Star Trek novels has recently kind of come to an end too, especially in light of bad reboot. And wow, in 2001, Pocketbooks estimated there were 85 million copies in print of these books. There were Bantam books too, the Star Trek Bantam books, the episode novelizations, and you had these 12 and 13 books between 1967 and 1978. Sure. But then Spock Must Die. Jeez. And the New Voyages, the classic episodes, Star Trek Log, the animated series, Simon and Schuster. Oh, that makes sense. I didn't know that was going on. Yeah, I could hear the audio through. I'm sorry if that was annoying. The Klingon Gambit. The Entropy Effect literally was book number 2, the numbered novels. They went from 1979 to 2002. And The Final Frontier, 1989. J.M. Dillard, I have that as a book, too, because it was like, I loved reading it. The Klingon Gambit, Covenant of the Crown. Oh. Share this tab instead. So the Entropy Effect is, the motion picture was novel number 1. It was author was Gene Roddenberry. Wow, maybe I'll get that as an audio book. That would be interesting. I'm sure I've read that as a kid, But the Entropy Effect, and Entropy Effect's great. It's about time travel and about paradox. And I love that book. Yeah, it's really good. The Klingon Gambit, Covenant of the Crown. From December. Now, look at the frequency these started coming out. June 1981, October 1981, December of 1981. And so that's in March 82, May 82, and then the Wrath of Khan novelization in July of 1982. And then in 1983, they go up to 5 books. The A.C. Crispin's Yesterday's Sun saga. And let's see. She also did a lot of books. I see, like V and V, the Final Battle. They had V, the series. And then you had all these V books. The Wounded Sky, the Trelane Confrontation. Wow. The Worlds Apart books. Uhura's Song, Killing Time. Oh, wow. I read the shit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 novels that comes out every 2 months. in 1985. Dreadnought, battle stations. That's right. Oh, the Romulan Way. Indeed. Bloodthirst by J.M. Dillard. It was the one that introduced kind of like space vampires. There were a lot of Star Trek novels, yeah. And I read them all the way up until like high school, pretty much. And yeah, 85 million in circulation, in publication circulation. Wow. Ain't that cool? Nice. There are a lot of Star Trek novels. Yeah. And bringing it back to comic books too. Their Gold Key had their run. Then there was like a motion picture era Marvel run. And then that license kicked over to DC Comics after Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So one of these gummies. Right. It's gummies. Any flipper babies? A few flipper babies. Right. You know how hard it is to find a flag with no ads? And then there was, yeah, so Star Trek comics. Just there are so many Star Trek comics. But yeah, I grew up, the Gold Key ones were the original series ones. Those are also Whitman comics as well. It's good to have Dwayne Muth out here. He's like an encyclopedia. He's like a Google with shoes when it comes to this. You know what I mean? I think that he has an actual Bluetooth, and comic book questions from the internet just go straight to him. Got no evidence to support this claim, yet I'm staying it. Let me check my phone here. I'm a popular individual. Let's see. And let me check the scores of these games, too. Uh-oh. Fourth quarter, 55 seconds left. The Bengals are up, and the Bengals are down. Patriots are up 16-10, and they got possession. They're in field goal range. Yep. That'd be nice to, you know what I mean? We got a new coach. The Belichick era is over. It is. Finally, a Sully you can trust. That's right. No Russian influence here. Not at all. No Soviets. No, no Chinese, except for, you know what I mean, anyone that tunes in, you know, AL, you know what I mean? Yes, we got you covered. And you know what I mean? We have representation here. All right, we're fully represented. Thank you very much. What's in the bag? What did I buy for comic books this week? I'll tell you. Not Iron Man, but this is the cover of the new Iron Man. It's interesting. It's not, but it's more of like, it's not a fully armored. He's got to go there sometime. Yeah. But it's, this is, yeah, that's, this is Spencer Ackerman, Pulitzer Prize winning writer, aspiring rising star artist Julius Ota. It's a new chapter. The Stark Roxxon War ignites, which is interesting because Roxxon's a huge, heavy player right now in Al Ewing's Immortal Thor, which is not that bad. I got 4 floppies this week. One I was just kind of, 2 I was disappointed in, yeah. And 2 Image, 2 Marvel, no DC Comics this week. I barely read any DC Comics this week. I'm only reading what's interested or like what I get in my pirate chest. And some weeks, like DC Comics, just like I go on my own to read those ones. And I find that I'm not reading as many DC Comics if I don't have to, Any hate revisited in that pile? I'm not sure. And let's start off with the two disappointing ones off the bat. Scarlet 4 of 5, Energon Universe, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Marco Ferrari. It's over. I mean, it makes me question why I buy things. This is actually a healthy thing for any comic book fan to have a conversation with themselves, or maybe with friends out there on the internet too. Why am I buying this book? It's not making me happy. There is no resale value, and I am not that much of a completist. I'm actually looking at my collection comes sometimes with regret, because who besides me would want this? I got so many, rebagging, reboarding, and reboxing my entire collection last year was a real enlightening experience. That was probably the first time I've actually physically handled some of those floppies since I put them in those boxes to begin with. I contacted my local comic book shop about trying to find copies of Transformers 1 through 12 and Void Rivals 1 through 11 to replace those lost in the fire. I forgot all about Saturday morning TMNT stuff and Dungeons and Dragons. It's a good way to look at it too. Yeah, I mean, geez, did you have, renter's insurance? And can you at least get I don't. Makes me think if I should. Maybe I should. Did Scarlet number 4 have Jinx and Scarlet going full lesbian? And no. I don't think she's allowed to. I think for that kind of story from Kelly Thompson, that's going to happen. This is my prediction. That's going to be absolute Wonder Woman. I have no spoilers. This is just pure instinct. I'm just shooting from the hip. You'll get there. God bless you. Exactly. Pikachu wants to help too. Seriously. And but we're here again. Okay, how many? You see so many images. There aren't multiple clones of Scarlet here. This is a Kelly Thompson storytelling device. It's a double page splash. It's a double page splash. It's a fight scene. Now I've seen her do this in Birds of Prey and a few times. So this is like one of her things. You're going to see the same thing in Absolute Wonder Woman, especially in kinetic fight sequences. So this is just tracking Scarlet's motion through the room and kicking all this ass on the way. Her running the gamut. There's a gamut. The gauntlet. Her running a gauntlet while Jinx and Storm Shadow remain, engaged, yet not as efficient, because it's her book. You know what I mean? This is, and but it's meant to be prequel kind of stuff about, that just if it's, That stuff's priceless too, to the collector, to the person. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad book. Yeah, but it's more of if they end up kissing by the next issue, I wouldn't be surprised either, Dwayne. Lane Kramer asked that. Scarlett Dwayne Muth said this about Scarlett. It's you're putting money down the toilet. And exactly. Perseverance. And thanks for coming and spending some time and taking your mind off of your mind, and let's talk about our funny books for a second, these floppies. Okay. Buyer's regret. I'm having buyer's regret over this. This is 5 out of 6, so this is a mini. It's going to be a trade paperback. This is one of these minis make me think, like, why would you release it as a floppy to begin with? For the market share, to have an offering for the shelves, for the variant cover schema, I agree. Yeah, there were a couple of books I read, and that was one of them. And there's a new Blade series coming out, again by Brian Hill, who did a really decent job on Blade's last 12 to 14 issue mini, that set up everything for Blood Hunt, but this is boring. And the thing about this book is it's a Marvel Max. It's written by Garth Ennis and with horrific and grotesque artwork by Jason Burrows here. The fact that is just we're getting shorted on gruesome, over-the-top overkill. We had plenty of that in the first issue. Since issues 2, 3, 4, and 5, there's 1 or 2 instances of that, but it's never, hopefully there's going to be a lot of that in the next issue, the finale, but it's boring me. People like this. It's like a bull. It's got a very competent story. It's following its story beats. It's 3 acts. Act 3 just began. You know what I mean? And it's in its end game. It's gonna land. But it's like it's not. I thought this could be a lot better, and it could be a lot more gruesome, and it could be consistent. I mean, Hey, James, how are you doing? Cool. I'm blessed and grateful that you come by at all. General Balzac. I'm tired of the short runs. No one has commitment anymore. Yes, it's like online dating. Maybe it's because it's just the young people's values. What's up? My nipples. God, is it cold up here? What's up? The direction of out of speech. What's up? That's right. And I said, hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? 25 years and our life is still trying to get that great big hill of hope for a destination. And so I cry sometimes when I'm lying in bed, when I'm feeling around, and then in my head I say, are you feeling a little peculiar? And so I brace in the morning and I step outside, and then I take a deep breath and I get real high and I scream the top of my lungs, what's going on? Yeah. Enough of that. Before we get a copyright strike, because I'm pitch perfect. When it comes to my karaoke, I take it very seriously. Don't get me started. Incredible Hulk 16, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. I'm getting used to Danny Earle's art. It's not bad. It's just not Nick Klein, and because I'm so spoiled with Nick Klein because he's that good. But it's like it's kind of like weaving some elements of a long ago and some first Hulk who's actually Enkidu of the Babylonian epic myth of the Gilgamesh, who was Enkidu. Enkidu is made by the gods to be Gilgamesh's rival, then ended up being his best friend, and Enkidu dies, and Gilgamesh is heartbroken, and Gilgamesh goes to the underground and tries to save his friend from this gloom, but it's about learning that holy shit, they're dead, they're gone. And you have to just, what he did was he returned to the city of Ur and resumed and finally embraced his duties as king, which meant he probably took a queen and became a father and a grandfather and stopped his wild ways. And you can see hints of that too later on in Tolkien with Strider, who's actually Aragorn, and by the end of it, owns it. Bye, Yael. Good to see you. Much love, and hang in there. It's day by day. You can tell your sister I said hi. I mean that because thank you so much for you know what I mean, that you have siblings and some people to turn to, and I hope everyone in your family is doing well, and that you're all safe and sound and getting happier, and that everything's going to fall into place and everything just day by day, and that's all we can do, and be grateful and to be and focus on what we have, and not unfortunately, I mean, try to focus on what we have and not what. And it's who am I to say about focusing on what we've lost? I am in no position to say that to anyone. People will feel the way they feel, and people will feel the way they want to feel, and just do the best of what you can do at that moment, and that's the best you can do. Seriously, just be well intended. That's what Thanks. There you go. Indeed, I believe in that. So yeah, Hulk wasn't that bad. I mean, Enkidu, just part of the, it was okay. I mean, the art was fine. I just I'm over the dark word bubbles, and there are no hand drawn onomatopoeia in Danny Earle's art. But there are decent fight scenes in this. I am in for this entire run. I've got every issue, the annuals, the one shots, the giant size, because it's all one big story, and I enjoy being a Hulk reader for the first time in my life. Seriously, I've never been a Hulk buyer before. I've never been completely tuned in to the Hulk on a monthly basis. No, not since I was a kid, or Dale Keown was high school to me, and that was just but I wasn't into the Hulk. I was but it was just a mainstay growing up, part of it all. But the pick of the week, it's got to be Rook Exodus number 5. Oh, what a wonderful book. Everything in this book is just story beats, art. Look at the splash page. I mean, just look at now these guys do digital sound effects right. That's one thing I want to use as a great example of the art. It's got to be it's Rob Lee, the letterer, I believe. Or maybe it's Brad Anderson, the colorist. But when it says Jeff Johns and Jason Fabuk, the creators, it's Jeff Johns writing, and it's Jason Fabuk on line art. And it doesn't denote an inker. So I wonder if Fabuk is inking his own stuff, or does it just go straight to the colorist? And the colorist does a really great job on this too. I mean, just this is just not a cheaply produced comic. There's some great stuff in this. Great art. Good, just you see it's trippy, it's got symbolism, it's got this some good stuff. I mean, this has been consistently a good story and a good floppy. I'm glad I'm tuned into it. This is my contribution to Ghost Machine and Ghost Machine's success. I'm not buying Redcoat. I'm not buying Geiger. Geiger's gotten really good though. Geiger's really good, and people, and Redcoat's fun. Sure, it's got Brian Hitch art, So and we got Hyde Street coming out too by Jeff Johns as well, with pencils by Ivan Reis. And that was, those two did Blackest Night. Those two did Green Lantern. Yeah, there is actually there's a Hyde Street Blackest Night parody cover too, which I might get that. I might. And Geiger, yeah, Geiger is just Geiger's been pure entertainment. Geiger would make great movies. I'm really, and then that the art is just amazing too. That Gary Frank art, it's just so good. It's I've been so yeah. I mean, Ghost Machine that's like, this is where it's fun to be a comic book fan, because finally, the answers to our prayers, new stories, new characters, new circumstances. I mean, I just like look at something like Geiger. I mean, just like how much of of this modern day intersectionality do we have to worry about in a post-apocalyptic place where everything's already gone to pot? And it's a struggle for survival. It's different stakes in that world. You don't have to worry about, levels of privilege. You have to worry about eating and living. And, Geiger's a really good book. What else did we read this week? I actually read a shitload of books this week. Let me pull that shit up. Pull that shit up. That's right. And the Patriots won their game 16-10. Wonderful. Yay. Welcome, Gerard Mayo, former player and our new head coach in this first post-Belichick year. Good luck. Don't worry about filling people's shoes. You have brought your own pair, coach. I got no problems. The only problem I have is the stupid uniforms. It's the chick from marketing. I tell you. All right. We read how many books this week? I'll tell you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 Marvel comics this week. 1, 2, I didn't even read Dawn Runner 5. I am beautiful Evan Cagle art, but I'm just so not into the story. This is where I love Ram V, but then he comes up with complete misses for me too, which is fine. So I get why people say, oh God, how can you like Detective Comics? How can you like this? And I'm like, there's some Ram V out there that I think is really good, but this is where I get where Dwayne says Ram Z. Let's see. I didn't read Uncanny Valley. I ended up reading, though, 3 Star Wars High Republic age comic books this week. 2 from Dark Horse Comics and 1 from Marvel Comics. And so 2 of them were all right. One of them was an outright stinker, but I kind of got problems with Dark Horses. They do Star Wars Adventures. That's the license they have. They still have so they tell kind of just very anthology style stuff that's related to what's going on at that time. So the big initiative from Lucas, Marvel, Disney has been something called the High Republic. The High Republic is set about 200 years before the fall of the Jedi. So it's like the golden age of the Jedi in a way. And Phase 1, Phase 2 of the High Republic has passed in Marvel Comics. So it's bridging so they're currently in something called Phase 3. Time has passed. The Padawans introduced in Phase 1 are adults and they're Jedi, Knights and Masters now, with different problem set. Over the time, or the course of time, the vaunted, much ballyhooed Starlight Beacon, a symbol of privilege and of opulence and of arrogance. This Jedi space station it was taken down by the new big bad called the Nihil, and the Eye of the Storm, and this invading kind of alien, presence that happens in Star Wars every once in a while. If you know the Nagai, or if you know, what were the ones in the EU books? The Nagai were the ones the new threat at the end of the Marvel comics in 1985. Those are the Joe Duffy ones. And what were the ones in the EU? There was a big bad, the Yuzon Vong. That's it. Yeah, like alien. So there's like something that's happened, like yeah. So alien big bad tries to has an incursion into known space, our known sector of the galaxy. Coruscantish is deep within, and but outer rim has been taken over, and there's and the Jedi need to stand up to this new threat. They got taken by surprise. Blah blah woof woof, all down the line. So we have the New Republic. I mean, the High Republic, but it was meant to be a platform to showcase the Disney's dedication to diversity, inclusion, and equity in fiction, and having more robust representation, have more female characters. And this was like the beginning of the High Republic. It was like you had like Geode, The Rock, you had ridiculous looking cis typical people, and then you had intersectional looking Ford and lead heroes, which is fine, which is all that's fine. Like the Padawan that we were making fun of in phase 1, we had the typical side head shave. By phase 3, she is the hero of the story, and it's nothing wrong. It's just, she's just the Jedi of the story. That's it. I mean, I have been reading Star Wars, the High Republic phase 3. I've been enjoying it pretty much overall. It's not great, and I'm not buying it. So it's not like, oh, you're giving Disney money. Oh, you're like, I don't think that casting or representation is the problem. I think it's the smug over the certain smugness about it, and this thing, the way that to push back is to make blanket accusations of ists, phobes, bigotry. It doesn't work. It's not sexy. It's not welcoming. I mean, Star Wars fandom's fucked up these days. It's better just to like what you like and stay out of other people's shit. And exactly. Charles Sully, he's been writing a lot of he writes these High Republic books, and they're pretty darn good. Kevin Scott been writing really good. I've been it's been it's kept my interest. I'm satisfied. It's very Star Warsy. I like this big bad, the Nihil, the Eye of the Storm, the big bad himself. It's very Star Warsy. It's the most Star Warsy stuff that Disney Star Wars is putting out, besides the last 20 minutes of Rogue One, in my humble opinion. All right. And I haven't watched Andor yet, nor am I going to watch Andor unless they make a comic book adaptation of it, because I have been reading the Marvel comic book adaptations of the show. I wonder if Marvel already has the Acolyte written and drawn and ready to to print. And will they? I think they will. Why not? I mean, I read Mando season 2. I've been reading Ahsoka. Ahsoka's 2 issues into 5. I read Kenobi. I kind of liked Kenobi. I liked because you had some time to mitigate between the disaster of the PR shit with all the bigotry and the racisms, and you're pushing using fandom to punch down on critical voices and negativity. You know what I mean? All negativity is you're punching down on marginalized people, and it's like, oh. I mean, this is not how I want to spend my time. Phil the Kill, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, exactly. And I probably I'll read it when it comes out. I read every Marvel comic. Like I read 17 Marvel comics this week. But yeah, so there were 2 of the Star Wars The High Republic adventures. One was a one-shot called where is it? A Century Before the. It even says on the trade dress, A Century Before the Acolyte. Here, I'll share it with you. Shall I? Shall I share the screen with you? Do you deserve to be shared with? Would you like some more? Well, here's some more. Here is the cover. I'm going to show you the complete thing. This is a one-shot. So you see that mask thing in the background there with the one eye, and that's the mask of the big bad. And this is Daniel Jose Older. I don't really like the art too much in this, but I don't want to be bagging on Nick Brokenshire here. Every one of these, here's your Indicia and Lucasfilm Story Group, Matt Martin and Pablo Hidalgo, who are jumped. They got off the boat. They jumped the shark. Emily Shukani, I have no idea who that is, but Matt Martin and Pablo Hidalgo, they're kind of jerks. But also, I do realize that old fans, this is where it comes into sports radio, that the old fan, this is getting to be like sports radio. When the team sucks on the field, they hear it from the bleachers. You know what I mean? They say the coach sucks. The players suck. You can't take the heat? Get out of town. You know what I mean? Like, the Boston fans will ride you. And you know what? Star Wars fans along the way, especially the older ones, became like Boston sports fans. Very critical and very non-forgiving and punishing of not producing and not winning on the field. And look at this. This is the Star Wars timeline. So you have the High Republic. So you have the Young Jedi Adventures. And then you have the Acolyte there. And then you have the Fall of the Jedi, the Age of Rebellion, and the Rise of the First Order. And they still, look at that. They still include Star Wars Resistance. 2 seasons of this computer animated show, set before Force Awakens. I get the first season, and I on physical media. I didn't bother getting the second season, even if it did it even come out. I don't even care. I didn't finish watching it. It was bad. It wasn't that good. I love Star Wars, and you know what? I have every other season of Clone Wars on Blu-ray or DVD, and that final season that came out on D+ is not available on Blu-ray. And come on, that's up there with not publishing The Rise of Skywalker as a comic book adaptation. What about the rest of your collection? Why doesn't Star Wars old Star Wars didn't give up on little shit like that? They just, there was fans out there that really wanted it. Here's your Marchion Ro. That's the Eye of the Storm. That's the big bad. That's the guy in this mask right here. See that mask? That's Marchion Ro's mask. He's the Eye of the Storm, the Nihils, big bad. And so I guess a long story coming around. Why are these Dark Horse comics set in the same part of the High Republic that the Marvel comics are? It's like the Marvel comics are telling a story that these Dark Horse stories fit in. Why can't you show a more an older age of this High Republic? Maybe Yoda as a Padawan 400 years previous to what we're going on here. Maybe our Yoda with a bit more Grogu in him, as a Padawan learner, and who was his, lightsaber teacher all those many years ago. Maybe someone smaller than him. Like a grasshopper, And like, I don't know. I'm just like, I love Star Wars, but it's like, I can't, it's getting these Dark Horse comics so close to the Marvel comics. Why bother? I mean, do something else. Do something different. Now, the Disney Marvel comic that came out this week, the Star Wars one, was literally an Acolyte comic. Star Wars: The Acolyte. It was the Kelnaka book, and it's written by Kevin Scott. And this is a Phil Noto cover. Phil Noto does amazing Star Wars covers. You know what I mean? I saw the solicitation for the Rise of Skywalker's comic book adaptation that they never released. We don't even know what species Yoda is. His Yoda, and even in all the books, in all, we have so many identifications of different aliens in the Star Wars galaxy. Rodians. We've got, Nine Num. Is he from Unilist? No. He's we got, you got everything. But like, I don't think that Yoda's species has ever been canonically. It never was in the old canon. Whatever they do in the new canon, see, that was just something mystery thing. Now it's a mystery box. Back then it was a mystery. And but this is the Kelnaka book. You know what I mean? Four editors for this book: Mikey Basso, Danny Kazem, Mark Benicia, and then finally C.B. Sobolski, who probably just just eats over it, right? I'm not sure. That's a mean thing to say. But this is this is the old Jedi here. Did I ever tell you? So the Padawan here, she's losing her master, and she's not quite finished yet. And so many moons ago, and this is the Starlight Beacon wreckage, a century before. And this is the inciting incident of Star Wars: The High Republic Phase 3 was the destruction of the Starlight Beacon station by the Nihil, Marchion Ro, and the Eye of the Storm. And like I said, Phase 3 of the High Republic hasn't not been all that bad. And so this Padawan lost his master in this, and then gains a new master, Kelnaka, the Wookiee from the Acolyte, who doesn't really have an established character. The only thing that happened to Kelnaka he gets murdered off panel by probably one of the girls, by a lightsaber too, I believe. Maybe it was Kamir. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but Kelnaka gets mind controlled by the quote unquote lesbian space witches. I fucking hate that term. I mean, seriously, my aunt's a lesbian. I grew up with gay people in my family. You know what I mean? So just see, what fucking cringes me out and makes those fucking the do-gooders on the other side of the aisle right? When we use shit over and over again, like lesbian space witches, lesbian space witches, lesbian space witches. I mean, you're proving them right. I know we're thinking we're funny. I know we're this is sports radio culture. This is like shock jock shit. This is old Howard Stern. This is like Opie and Anthony. This is where that energy went. This is where that crowd went and that mentality went. Heck, I am that mentality. I'm a huge classic Stern fan. I was never into Opie and Anthony, which is funny because they started here in Boston too, in Worcester, and WAAF in 1995. Whip 'em out Wednesdays. We know all about Opie and Anthony. Then they went like huge. They went syndicated and like Stern after that, and just then boom, satellite radio when you can be unfiltered and unabridged and uncensored. But yeah, so the master, he's not really a character. He's a cipher, but he's strong, silent type. But this was a really decent story. Okay. Kevin Scott gives us a really competent story. This could be told in any franchise, any IP, any kind of universe. It's just master and student. And then by the end of it, you know what I mean? Of course, Kelnaka takes on the girl as his Padawan, and like this happens, you know, shortly before the events of the Acolyte. I don't think she's in the Acolyte, unless she gets killed like in episode 5. I'm not sure. But yeah, oh yeah, lesbian space witches. I mean, geez, it's like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with lesbians. Seriously, I mean, just I know, I get it. I mean, and honestly, too, I mean, I'm looking at Acolyte like they, you know, the lesbian space witches, the Coven. How about I'm just going to call them the Coven, and they're not the Dathomir, which, oh my gosh, I should know all this shit by now. The witches of Dathomir. What are they called? The witches, the Nightbreed, or the witches of Dathomir. Night Sisters. Yeah. They're not Night Sisters, but you know what I mean? They were just a different thing. And also, like, the big bad of Ahsoka uses the word thread in the same kind of context of the Force. So I'm wondering, is there a connection? Is there a thread? Because okay, the Coven, the Space Witch Coven, it's a different culture, so they have different metaphors. They have a different kind of context, and so they don't know it as the Force. That's not their cultural locality. That's not their local culture. Doesn't define the Force like that. They define the Force as a thread. And which is interesting because, you know, thread, textiles, sewing has always been historically associated with women's work. While, you know, I'm just like, you know, I don't know. I can respect things. I can appreciate things. I don't have to like them. And I haven't seen The Acolyte. What I have seen, it goes between pretty darn good and the ridiculous. I love Manny Jacinto's Khmer. I like the mask. I don't mind that. I love his Shoto and Daito reveal. I love the Jedi are so arrogant and not. I mean that they are unprepared for a threat like Khmer, like some kind of Sith lightsaber user. Of course, they get taken out quickly. You know, but then comes the whole, you know, just bleeding a kyber crystal thing. I don't know. They see that, but that's Disney canon. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean the Kelnaka issue, that one shot, it's like the only Acolyte comic book right now, and maybe for the foreseeable future. Who knows? Will they even release their comic book adaptation of the Acolyte? You know, isn't Disney Plus pulling the show from its own website? Who knows? But yeah, so I read Venom Wars Spider-Man issue 2 of how many? I have no idea, and I don't care. It's written by Lansing and Kelly, and it's all basically one of those things we tell Mary Jane how good of a strong and of a awesome hero she is the entire issue long. You know, as Jackpot. We got Peter wearing Venom because it's better than Dylan or Eddie Brock getting Venom at this point in the Venom War. So Venom in Venom War is kind of like a golem, a negation of the negation. Neither bad, neither side. Someone that has their own motivation involved. And so you got and Peter and Venom go all the way back to the beginning of Venom, of course. You know, so, but it's not good. It was Venom War issue 2. Yeah, and the Venom War, it's by Al Ewing. It's a 2 of 5. It's Ivan Coelho is the artist. And it's in that, that new Marvel style, that Pepe Larraz thing, it's better than Venom War Spider-Man. It's okay. All right. Dennis Camp's Ultimates number 4. Art by Phil Nato. Guest artist Phil Nato, because this is a break in between of what he was doing. This is about the monstering of Reed Richards by the monster, Reed Richards, the maker. You need a lot of information to decompress that sentence. There are 2 Ultimate Universes. Ultimate Universe, the first one, was we refer to that as 1606. 1616, right? Right. Because the new one, now that got destroyed in Secret Wars 2015. There were 2 survivors of that reality, or at least 2 survivors of that reality. Miles Morales and Reed Richards, the maker. And they came to live in what we know as Marvel 616, which is kind of a reconstituted 616 after Secret War 2015. So it's kind of like the entire Marvel universe died and was reborn. There's some argument, and I think there's like some purchase there, that Secret Wars 2015 is the Crisis on Infinite Earths of the Marvel universe. Well, let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the live chat. What do you think about that supposition? Would you consider Secret Wars 2015 by Robert Kirkman to be... Was that Jonathan Hickman? No, it was Jonathan Hickman. Sorry. Would you consider that to be the Crisis on Infinite Earths? Because it kind of did the same-ish kind of thing. It consolidated multiverse into a cohesive one place with a fresh start in a way, but not a reboot of anything. Just things were folded into, like Old Man Logan, Miles, Maker, kind of like how like Dark Beast and Nate Gray X-Men ended up in 616 from the old Age of Apocalypse, Ultimate What If. But this issue is the strongest issue of them so far. In the Ultimate Universe, the original Ultimates, Reed Richards goes evil. He becomes the Maker. That's his nickname. And he's been a pain in the Marvel Universe ever since. He's a cosmic level threat, omega level threat, whatever you want to say. But he reconstituted the Ultimate Universe. He made a new universe, a new Earth, and this one is known as 1610. 6160. 1610 was the old Ultimate Universe. And this one's called 6160. Fucking comic books. The whole thing is the diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, and by establishing a secret council of supervillains, the Maker's Council, that rules the world from the shadows. But now the Maker is gone, locked away for the next 16 months by inventor Howard Stark. Howard's teenage son, Tony, has taken on the codename Iron Lad and begun recruiting a network of heroes to fight back against the Maker's Council and prepare for the Maker's return. Instrumental in sealing away the Maker and forming this new team with Iron Lad is Doom, the broken shell of a man once known as Reed Richards, who was kept inside the dome and uncovered the Maker's secret, though not that the Maker himself is the Reed Richards of another universe. Here's your dramatis personae. And it's a Phil Notto book, yeah. And it's full of character moments, not a lot of action. And because I don't think Phil Notto does act. He does faces great. He does, he's got strengths, man. I love his stuff, but then a lot of the kinetic fight scenes itself are they look very flat. Yeah. So yeah, Spider Boy number 11 by Dan Uslot, and it was okay. I mean, it's enjoyable. I'll give credit where credit's due. Spider Boy overall has been a very enjoyable book. We've got Greg Weisman and Humberto Ramos's Spectacular Spider-Men. It's a team up between Miles and Peter, and it's been a real chore to read this, but we got beautiful Humberto Ramos pencils with inks by Victor Olazaba. So it's got really good line work, beautiful hatching. I mean, I love Humberto Ramos's Spider-Man. It's one of my favorite all-time Spider-Man. I love his eyes, his expressions. You know what I mean? I love Peter's lanky body. He has the proportional strength of a spider. So he doesn't need to have, he's not very buff, like over musculature. He's very thin, but he's very well defined, yet, I mean, he doesn't need all, he's not a bulky superhero. And, so it's it's consistent though. I don't like the story, but I love Ramos's art. You have Scarlet Witch number 4 by Steve Orlando, and it's just part of the ongoing Scarlet Witch books he's had. I think this is his 3rd or 4th mini using Wanda and Pietro, and I hope it finds its audience. Miles Morales issue 24, Legacy 306, written by Cody Ziegler, with art by Federico Vincettini. And once again, that art style is this nouveau, the Pepe Larraz look. That's what I'm calling it. It's wispy. It plays to the strength of its medium, which is a tablet. I like the fight scenes in this. It's been easy to follow. I've been enjoying Cody Ziegler's books for the past year or so. I have no problems with Miles Morales Spider-Man, with Spider-Punk, just and with his Deadpool too. I mean, I've been really, hey, I think Marvel's got a few good writers. Jed McKay, Cody Ziegler's one of them. Yeah, he's on the list. There's the Moon Knight annual, written by Dan Waters. He's really hit or miss. I mean, but hey, a 300 hitter, it means that's 3 out of every 10 at bats you're getting on base, or more. There was what if Donald Duck became Thor? I avoided that one. I didn't even look at that one. There's Marvel Zombies, Dawn of Decay. It's not really Marvel Zombies. It's more like Marvel Zombies, The Last of Us, because Groot's got some kind of intergalactic virus and he sneezes on Captain America. So he turns into that, that mushroom spory kind of thing and starts biting people. Did I happen to see Hellmask number 1 at my shop or check it out Sailing the Seas? I'm a big Bisley fan. I have not. I like Bisley too. He's a good chap. I always see him he likes him in Boston. So I see him at the cons a lot. I always say hi to him. I get, you know. Is it me, or does he always have a drink in his hand, or is that just me making that up? Kid Venom #2, it was all right. You know, who cares? I mean, it looks great. I hope it'll probably collect nicely. And I don't know, Marvel, try releasing it in the Tankobon format. But also, I hear that manga sales have really cooled off this year. Manga might be over. Is it? We'll find out. But I've heard that many from I watch Wes, I watch Perch, I watch your boy Zach, I watch who else do I watch for I watch Jester Bell. She doesn't do a lot about current comic book business end, but like Perch, Wes, you know what I mean, and Richard Meyer, they look at the publication industry aspect of comics, and I like that part. That's you know, that's one of my horses in this game. There's Immortal Thor #15, written by Al Ewing, and I've run hot or cold on this book, mostly, but it's been mostly warm and good. I mean, I've really enjoyed lots of parts of this book, especially the Alex Ross covers. They're really awesome. And I'm liking, I don't mind Immortal Thor #15. It's hot and cold in this book. It's okay. Hulk 16 we already covered. Fury 5 we already covered. Daredevil 13 by Solomon Ahmed. Matt Murdock's 7 Deadly Sins are spirits, and they're haunting people in his life. So Matt's sense of greed was in Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, and then when Matt exorcised, because now he's Father Matthew Murdock, Catholic priest since he came back from hell and the dead, that Wilson Fisk, after having this demon exorcised out of him, comes to Matt for absolution. And Matt has a crisis of faith in the way, I cannot do that for this individual. But he's a Catholic priest. He's being asked to perform a sacrament. I guess you'd have to boil down to see if, like, Wilson Fisk is a Catholic in good standing. Had they had confession, and have they had communion? I mean, Matt could, maybe this is, but we have Solomon Ahmed. Is he not? He's not Catholic. I don't think he's Catholic. He could be, for all I know. I don't know. It appears to be that you have a non-Catholic writing a Catholic character, Captain. My Spock. You know, I mean, I would have reconciled Matthew's struggle by the end of this issue by administering, confession, Eucharist, and absolution to that character. Maybe that happens in the next issue. There's hope, huh? I kind of like it. I love Richard Meyer's voice. I love his use of the word, of his idea of the birthday party clowns. Am I part of that? I could be. I don't care. I don't think I am. I am a panelist on Wes's Thinking Critical's Comics Aficionados often enough for the past 2 years that, like, hello, I'm a comic book YouTuber, a very small scale, but I am. But I don't do super chats, and I don't do what you can consider as the grift. That's nice. Birch is the voice. I like. Yeah, that sounded nicely. Yeah, I mean, he's a character, man. He, um, but yeah, I mean, it's like it's like I like what he says, that my books are not war bonds in your culture war or the culture war. I like that sentiment. Like, wow, you don't like what I'm saying about Disney Star Wars, so you want to refund my book just because, like, that's like, what? Like, I get that. I like that. And he's right. And it's like things got pretty tribal in that sphere. I think we're addressing that. But I disagree with him about, like, I think Critical Drinker's fine. And then the big book of this week that everyone's been talking about, so we will too. And I'm going to defend this book. It's Exceptional X-Men #1 by Eve Ewing. And here's the opening page. The Island Nation of Krakoa. It's very small info blurb. I like that. That's your info dump page. And that's it. And all the X-Men books right now have this same design. The same, your Indicia page with your info dump page and your credits, nice and consolidated. And see on the sides here would be your tradition. Have your Marvel, like the heads. You just have little headshots with their name underneath it. It's kind of simple. It's stripped down, and so it has a unified look with every other X title right now. That's pretty good. I mean, for publishing, all right. This is like, I like design. I like magazine design. Great. And we only have one. We have one person to focus on. It's Kate Pride. Yes, it's Kitty. No, it's Kitty, but it's Chicago. And that's where Kitty's from. Kitty's from Chicago. And she's working at Lulu's Tavern. She's not a barista. She's a bartender. Again, remember 20 years ago, she was a bartender in Chris Claremont's return when he was doing Extreme X-Men. She was a bartender at Hell's Bells, a bar in Chicago. She was taking a break from the whole superhero bullshit in life. But see, once again, this is the Pepe Larraz house style that I'm talking about, and that's going on at Marvel right now. So this is just a lot of different character moments, and then we have an inciting incident, and then there's 36 pages of this stuff. Seriously, we have an inciting incident, and she gets stood up on a date with a girl. Oh my God, Kitty's bisexual again. You know, Kitty's sexuality only is dependent on the writer. I don't think it matters. But Kitty is 45 years old this month. Yeah. And how old is she in the book?
Katie's bisexual again in your Apple Music library. You can ask me to play a radio station or ask for your music in a different app.
Sorry, Siri.
It's all good.
She's Australian. She might not have understood me. You know what I mean? And here's the inciting incident that some mutant girl gets roughed up by the bouncer, and now we have girls, heroines being outrageous and living outrageously, and we're using Kitty's power, and we're phasing through walls, and we're going through a chase, and then hey, little mutant. You know what I mean? I was just like you one of these times. And here you go. I'm dropping you off. And she wakes up in the morning and she's got a gift. And I like these. I like the checklist page. I really do like the checklist page. This is member berry stuff though. This is very this is This is Bronze Age design. And it's from her new friend Bronze there with their earrings. And she puts on the earrings. And that's that. And I mean, literally for me, and then we have the post-credit scene with Emma Frost being dun dun dun. And that's it. There's your quick little thing of Exceptional X-Men #1. But it's okay as the stories go. It's not made for me. It's a chick story. This is by chicks for chicks. Yes, that's what the marketplace is going to want as offerings. Should we be giving it a hard time because it's Cosmopolitan, it's Mademoiselle, it's Vogue magazine on the newsstand. You know what I mean? Just X-Men flavor. But it was a better X-Men story in one issue than 6 issues of Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men, which same thing. It's made for and by women. Seriously, it's just, here we are. We need this on the newsstand to represent the marketplace. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Pikachu has an assistant. She's the real boss. No, don't tell me. What? I wasn't talking about you. No. You're hearing things, kid. But Exceptional X-Men, it wasn't a fail. I think it works as a story. Internally, it has its own three acts, and the denouement scene of the post-cred scene, it lands. The thing with the earrings and the whole, it's a simple story told. I mean, it's just by the numbers, beat by beat. But it didn't suck. Kitty never seemed out of character. Kitty, you know what I mean? And I'll show you, the best part for me was seeing this after all these years. Kitty's wearing her Star of David. She hasn't worn that since she was a kid, I don't think. You see? Kitty's wearing, she wore that all through those early 80s X-Men books before, she moved on to Excalibur. I don't think she wore Star of David and Excalibur. But I'm especially in this very awful age right now, especially with, I've dated Jewish girls before. I have plenty of Jewish friends. I've been to a Jewish wedding. I have Muslim people I work with, you know what I mean? And friends too. Friends from Morocco, friends from, Saudi Arabia. Mo's out there too. I mean, it's nice to see some positive, just stuff, just things of normalcy. In this age of normalizing things, just be yes, that's a big part of Kitty Pryde's character. I don't know. I really appreciated that. So, I mean, I did not hate Exceptional X-Men. Did I read any? Let me see. This is Welcome to the Pirate Boat. Will I get in trouble for this? I don't know. But let's see. This is the pirate ship right here. Flash Gordon 2 is good. Yeah, the Moon Knight annual. That wasn't that bad. I've been liking that the Infinity Watch mini event. It's going over the annuals, and I've been very pleased with that. Boy Wonder 5 of 5 came out. I didn't pay any attention to it. Yeah, I really didn't pay any attention to any DC comics this week. And yeah, Batman 152 by Chip Zdarsky came out. Batman Brave and the Bold. Absolute Power 3 came out. I didn't care. It's not like I'm trying to be anti-Mark Waid either. I just I I don't care. I mean, I'll get to it eventually. Dawn Runner 5, I totally spaced on that. I think Poison Ivy 25 here, I hear that G. Willow Wilson only did like 8 issues, and the rest of it is Joanne Starr. And she can kiss my ass. Sorry, no. Just keep your lips to yourself there, sweetheart. And those are the comic books this week. Hey, we hit the 2-hour mark, and it's time for me to get some supper. So thank you so very much for tuning in today for this Sully, the Sunday Sully stream. I hope that, and it was Star Wars. Today is Star Wars Day, and no, it's Star Trek Day. You always get Star Wars in the mind. Well, it's been on a lot of minds lately, and people just keep, bashing each other over the head with, it's all red. It's all blue and green chariots to me anymore. It's all sports radio. It's all, just toxic sports fans at this point. And it's usually, it's just like, it's the sports radio people versus just like this very small but vocal and oversensitive young people culture. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. And God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you next week in those funny pages. Ciao. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you, Pikachu.